Hi VC. Yes, it's me again. Um, I've just been watching James's the Vinyl Professor. James's ranking of Sergeant Pepper, and it did not make me chuckle, as you'll probably see from my ranking. So this is a response to his video. He did warn me that he would be doing this prior to actually um, publishing it. And so I had a listen last night again to Sergeant Pepper, as if I needed another one, but it was a joy to run through it again. And these are my thoughts on the album. I'm sure not everybody will disagree. This is my opinion. And I'm just throwing these ideas out there. So my opinion of the whole album is, especially after last night, I think at the time it was probably better if you were there when it was released and listened to it when it was released, because then it would have the proper full impact that the Beatles obviously wanted for it. Because now, when I listen to it now, yeah, a lot of the songs still blow my head off. But there are better Beatles albums. It is not the greatest album in ever released. Far from it. That's not to say it's not a brilliant album, because it is. Because basically the Beatles didn't really, even some of the earlier albums, they didn't really release a Duff album. Well, apart from maybe Let It Be, but anyway, that's another point. So yeah, I think there are at least 3, maybe 4 Beatles albums that are better than Sergeant Pepper, because I actually find it a really uneven record. There are such highs, but then there are such tracks that shouldn't be on there. Just shouldn't. They just don't do it. And even the song I put last probably should still be on the album. You see, what I wish that they'd done was, I wish that the Penny Lane Strawberry Fields single never happened. I wish it had never happened, because those 2 tracks were supposed to be the start of the new record when they were recorded in '66-ish. And if they'd been included on Sergeant Pepper, then probably you are talking about probably the best Beatles album, then probably one of the greatest albums ever made. But those 2 tracks were ripped off the sessions and released as a single, which I understand was against the Beatles' wishes. I'm pretty sure that. I'm not totally sure of that, but I think that was the case. So as I go through, at the end, what I'll do is I might suggest which 2 tracks should have been ripped off and just left in the can, or churned out for Yellow Submarine or something, and what should have had Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane on, because they would have just changed the record completely for me, just totally. Right, okay. What if? So here's my copy of it. This is a prime 80s pressing. I bought this when it was new. I think I got it in around 85. I think the covers, I don't know, the cover just seems dull to me. I mean, it's been on a shelf for 30 years plus, but it just seems like, I mean, does that look weird to you? I might have to buy another copy of this, because I'm not 100% happy with this. It just seems a bit not as vibrant as it should be. Anyway, regardless, that's my problem, not yours. Now, before I get onto this, because people are going to go, what the hell is he thinking? I know they are. I love this record. I love all the Beatles songs. I know all the albums inside out. Love this one. But it's not the greatest record. Anyway, here we go. Right. So I've got my list, and I'll come up with a few thoughts. as I go through. Unlike James, I wrote them all down, and there are 13 tracks on Sgt. Pepper, and I've got a list of 13 songs here. There won't be any omissions. Sorry, James. Right, number 13. Just have a sip of coffee, because... Right, number 13. And James will probably be horrified, and many people will be horrified, is When I'm 64. I really find it almost sickly to listen to. I don't know, there's something about When I'm 64. Now, I can listen to it fine in the context of the Yellow Submarine film. No problem, it fits. And I think as a whole, it fits into the album. And I can understand it being there, and I wouldn't take it off, actually. Even though I really don't like the song itself, I wouldn't take it off the album, because it really does fit. It belongs there. It's kind of that nostalgia. Well, it's kind of looking forward to look back. I think that's one of the problems I have with that song. It's kind of anticipating being old when you barely reach 30. It just seems... It's just the antithesis of, for me, The Who and my generation. And it's also the start of Paul's songs that are just so musical, and if you've seen my White Album video, you'll understand what I'm thinking. Not that you'll agree, but what I'm thinking. I just thought he's gone so... It's gone back 50 years. It just doesn't... It's not the... Like, Sgt. Pepper was supposed to be the future of music, or whatever. It's supposed to be like this wide awakening. And it just seems to me like it's gone back to the 1930s and 1940s. This kind of nostalgia trip. Now, I know Psychedelia was supposed to be like reverting back to sort of a 5-year-old self, where you kind of get all that new, you know, when you're 5, you have a new appreciation of everything around you, and it's all amazing. And part of that was looking back to old sounds and stuff, and maybe trying to incorporate them into a new style. But for me, When I'm 64 doesn't hit that. It doesn't do it for me. It just doesn't do it. Right, number 12, Fixing a Hole. It's just a slight song. It's not a bad song. But yeah, I get all this, like, I'm fixing a hole where the rain gets through, stop my mind from wondering where it will go. Well, I thought the whole point of this was to open your mind so that you will be able to wonder, and it just seems to go against the grain of the record. And it's just a slight song. I mean, when you think of all the top tracks from this album, this just doesn't cut it. It just doesn't cut it. It's such a slight song. I don't know. And the same with my number 11, Getting Better. I just think that's another one. It's getting better all the time. I don't know. You see, they're the two that I would actually cut. If you took Getting Better and Fixing a Hole off and stuck on Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever, then either that or Lovely Rita, which is coming up soon as well, then you're talking about a phenomenal record. Right, so dealt with the bottom 3. So next up, I would have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band Reprise. Now, I know James said that he absolutely loved this, the way he comes in after Good Morning. And I think it's brilliant. It is great. The way that it just thumps straight in after Good Morning. But it's a reprise, so I'm never going to put it that high. It doesn't have the same impact as the main version at the opening of side 1 for me. The way that Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band comes in and just, it sets the record up absolutely superbly. Anyway, I'll talk about that later, because it comes later. So there we go. So that's number 10. Number 9, I would have Lovely Rita. Again, it's another slight song. It just doesn't. I mean, when I think of Beatles songs that I really want to listen to, I have never thought, I know, I'm going to go home and listen to Lovely Rita because I love it so much. It just doesn't happen. Lovely Rita Meter Maid. It's just another bloody. Sorry. Just another. It's almost a filler song for me. It just doesn't add much to the record. Then, right, the top 8. Right, now we're talking phenomenal from now on. It just so happens that they're in the order I've got them in, just from personal preference. But we're talking every single song from now on is phenomenal. Right, number 8, Within You Without You. Now, I put this at number 8, but honestly, it's a fantastic track. It gets across as George's Eastern beliefs. It introduces sitar to, in a big way, to Western audiences. It sounds fantastic. I still think that whoever added the guffaws at the end of it, whether it was John or Paul or George Martin or whoever did it, were bastards. Little swine. But it's such a phenomenal track, and it is. And I have played that song over and over again. Just lifted the needle off, put it back. There we go, on the CD. Just put it on repeat. I love that song, Within You Without You. Number 7, Good Morning, Good Morning. Now, I think the song itself is okay, but what really lifts it for me is George's guitar on it. I mean, the backwards guitar solo on there is just pure and utter psych. It is just amazing, and it just absolutely leaps out the speakers at you, and the horns on it, it is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Right, number 6, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the main version. Now, I started talking about it before because I was wittering on after the reprise, but I do love the way that it just kickstarts the record and the way it segues into my next number 5, so I'm going to talk about that as well. So number 5 is With a Little Help from My Friends. I just think they're one piece of music. I just can't really separate them, to be honest. Just really kind of foreshadows for me the second side of Abbey Road. The way that they segued and merged and just added things together to make a completely different whole. And for me, that started on Sgt. Pepper with those first 2 tracks. I mean, With a Little Help from My Friends is just such a fantastic song. Obviously taken to number 1 by what's his face? My memory is going appalling. Mad Dog's an Englishman guy. You know, I'm sure somebody will put it in the comments, and I'll probably remember it in a second. Deary me. Right. But yeah, it is just a superb song, and Ringo's delivery. I mean, yeah, he was a limited vocalist, but the way he holds, I mean, even that final note that he holds at the end of the song is brilliant. He was just playing. I think Ringo. I always had Ringo down as a bit of a sort of mate weight when I was younger, a lot younger, and I've really revised that opinion. He was the glue in the Beatles. He totally was the glue. While you've got everybody else off going whoosh into here, there, and everywhere, he just held it all together with a steady backbeat and some phenomenal drumming. And I do like Ringo. Right, number 4, She's Leaving Home. I like this so much because I could so identify with this song when I was younger. When I was a teenager, all I wanted to do was leave home, for different reasons. And I love McCartney's lyric on this. Absolutely love it. I love the way he balances the mother at home with the girl out having fun, and the longing and the need to escape. I just think it's just the balance of the track is just brilliant. So personally, I just love it, and the balance of the lyric is brilliant, and I just think it sounds gorgeous. I don't care if George Martin didn't do the strings. Doesn't bother me at all. I still think it's beautiful. Controversial, number 3. I've got A Day in the Life at number 3. I think it is a fantastic track. Don't get me wrong. The way it moves from section to section, the way John and Paul joined the various bits together, the way they got the 50-piece orchestra in to create those 2 crescendos through the song. It was an absolute tour de force, and I can imagine listening to that in 1967 would have been jaw-dropping. It was jaw-dropping when I first heard it in like the early 80s, but it's not my favourite song on the album. Right, number 2, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. This has to be one of John's best lyrics. I just think it's just, I just love it. It's just, for me, it is, the lyric is just pure psychedelia. I mean, you can't get any more than that. I mean, I know it's been said that it wasn't an acid trip or anything, but yeah, whatever. Oh dear, just one more bit of coffee. And it's such a brilliant chorus on it, and sound-wise it is brilliant, and it's probably one of the earliest Beatles songs I think I heard, and even way before I ever heard of acid or LSD, I loved it to pieces. And seeing as this is a song ranking and not like a review of the album as a whole, then I have to put this at number 2. But number 1 is being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. James, you're probably going to laugh at this because I was chuckling away at your video when you put it bottom, saying it's such a slight song, tossed out by Lennon as a filler track at the end of side 1. I can't disagree more. The only reason Lennon didn't like it, and this is one of the only points that Ian MacDonald in Revolution in the Head makes that I agree with. He didn't like it because it wasn't a personal song. He was into writing stuff like Help, and obviously later on Give Peace a Chance, and stuff that was more personal to him. This was copied off a poster. Basically, I've just looked it up, and it was on the Strawberry Fields video shoot, and he went into an antique shop and he saw this poster about Mr. Kite. And the Hendersons and all the rest of it. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough in a minute. And basically, the whole thing was on this poster. And I think I've seen a picture of the poster, and it's all there. So there's very little personal input from Lennon. He just sat there, and it was all there for him. He didn't have to do very much, really. And I just love the way the lyrics, it's so evocative of like this great show, which is what I think Sgt. Pepper was supposed to be all about. And then there's the music. And I think, personally, it's even more inventive than Day in the Life. I think Kite is one of the most underrated tracks in the Beatles catalogue. the different instruments that they use on it, like there's a harmonium, there's organs, there's all kinds of stuff. The way, the rhythm of the words, the way that George Martin created that the end part where he just got loads of different tapes of fairground organs, cut them into sections, and then joined them all back up again. I mean, I don't know if that was just randomly done, because it fits perfectly. The way that the sounds just flip and flop and fade in and fade out, and it is one of the most psychedelic tracks I think I've ever heard. And there's barely guitars on it, I think. I don't know if there are any guitars on it at all. It's just phenomenal. The whole thing from start to finish, Kite, is just a phenomenal track. And I've only really started to appreciate it so much in about the last 5 years. I mean, I loved it, you know, when I first heard Pepper. And it's just, for me, it's just grown and grown and grown. And I think, really, it should be held up as a masterpiece for George Martin, to be honest. Because Lennon just came into the studio and said, "Here, George, can you..." No, I'm not going to do rubbishy. I lived there, so I do tend to drop into stupid Liverpool accents at times. But he just went into George Martin and said, "Can you do a fairground sound?" And George Martin came up with Kite. So there you go. So my number one, being for the benefit of Mr. Kite. I'm sure most people will disagree. Oh, and for the record, I reckon the White Album, Abbey Road. Let's do this again. The White Album, Abbey Road, and Revolver, and possibly Rubber Soul, are all better than Pepper. Just thought I'd throw that out at the end. Hey! Well, anyway, I can't believe I've been whittering on for over 20 minutes about this record, but I guess that shows the importance of it, to be honest. I think if I did Revolver, though, I would be there for longer. Right, anyway, so if you've made it through to the end of that, with all the waffle and the coughing and the slurps of coffee, then I salute you. And I salute you again, and thanks for watching VC. See you later. Bye.